This is The Broken Shift with Nurse Natalie. Healthcare doesn't break in chaos, it breaks quietly. An anonymous nurse shared a story about what happened when they tried to leave their job professionally. Get your drinks. She didn't do it dramatically, she didn't do it angrily, she did it professionally. She gave a notice, accepted a new opportunity, and planned to transition to a better job for her family. And within hours, her manager threatened her future employment. Not with a write up, not with discipline, but with something nurses hear about all the time: do not rehire. Let that sit, because what I'm about to share with you might change the way you look at a do not rehire. This nurse had accepted a new position, a better opportunity for their family, so they did what most people consider standard, right? This is standard professional courtesy here. They submitted a 2-week notice, and usually that's what most jobs ask for. The new job started in 2 weeks, so the timing made sense. For many industries and even many hospitals, 2 weeks is the typical expected notice when you leave a job, just as a professional courtesy. But the manager responded with something different. The manager emailed back and said that 4 weeks was the policy. And if the nurse did not complete 4 weeks, they would be marked as do not rehire. The pressure was on. The email didn't just mention policy, it questioned the nurse's decision. The manager wrote asking if the nurse still wanted to go through with the resignation, knowing they would be marked as ineligible for future employment within the system. Has this ever happened to you? Drop the word system in the comments if it has. I would love to see it, because we want to know how many that has happened to, because that's the kind of message designed to make someone hesitate. Because in healthcare, being marked as do not rehire can feel like a career threat. Many hospital systems own multiple facilities, outpatient clinics, and specialty centers. So one mark in a file can potentially block employment across an entire network. And I'm sure that's what was going through her mind at first. So this message was pretty clear, right? Work the extra weeks or risk your future. Let's talk about the 13-hour ultimatum. This is where it all starts to come together. The first email was sent at 7 p.m. by the nurse. The nurse didn't check their email again until the next morning at 8 a.m., right? 13 hours later. And by that time, the manager had already sent another message. It said that because the nurse had not responded, I don't know when she would have responded, maybe while she was sleeping. Anyway, the manager would assume that they were continuing with the resignation as planned, and therefore, the nurse was now marked as ineligible for rehire across the system. No conversation, no clarification, and no time to respond. No chance to even adjust the new job start date. Just a decision made overnight. So something didn't feel right to the nurse. I mean, I can imagine some of you are thinking that too. Like, that's 13 hours. When would she have responded, right? The nurse felt blindsided, not just by the threat, but by the speed at which this threat came through, and that she went through with the threat, right? She didn't even give her time to respond. So what the nurse did is she did something simple. She contacted human resources. And what HR told her completely changed the situation. Wait for it. And HR told the nurse something surprising. There was no official do not rehire policy tied to resignation notice length. Repeat, none. According to HR, rehire eligibility was determined later based on employment history and performance, not simply the number of weeks someone stayed after submitting a resignation. Put resignation in the comments if this has ever happened to you. We want to let other nurses out there know they're not alone. In other words, the policy the manager used to threaten the nurse didn't exist. So at this point, right, the nurse is asking the question many people would ask. What should I do now? What should she do? Should she forward the email chain to HR? Or should she just move on and just go to her next job and just forget about it? Right? But there's no policy. You know what this story really highlights is something many nurses quietly experience. That's why I ask you to drop resignation in the comments, because there's not always a policy. Sometimes it's policy intimidation. They're using a fake policy to intimidate nurses into doing something they would otherwise not do. And in healthcare, managers sometimes rely on the assumption that staff won't check on the rules. Because when someone is already leaving, they're often exhausted, right? They don't know if they'll need to come back. You don't want to burn your bridges. They just want to get through the notice period and move on because they found something better, or maybe they need a sabbatical, whatever the reason is. So when a manager says something is a policy, many nurses accept it without even verifying. Sometimes those policies are exaggerated. Well, it's not the policy that's exaggerated. It's the manager exaggerating the policy. Misinterpreted sometimes. Or in this case, completely invented. Why this matters? Why does this matter? I mean, notice periods exist to help units plan for staffing transitions. We get that. You don't want to leave them hanging. But they are not supposed to become tools of intimidation to block your future. Especially in healthcare, where nurses are often taught to be cooperative, accommodating, and conflict avoidant. That culture can make it easier for leadership to apply pressure, manipulate. But this manipulation and pressure doesn't even hold up under scrutiny, right? She went to HR. There is no such policy. And sometimes all it takes to challenge the pressure is asking a simple question. Can you show me the policy? They might not like it. So the quiet part out loud today is, in healthcare, the system often relies on nurses not knowing their own leverage, not knowing employment law, not checking policy, and not pushing back. Because the moment a nurse verifies the rules, the power dynamic shifts, doesn't it? It shifts. You put the power back in your hand. I mean, it doesn't mean that manager will hire you back on their unit, but you won't be blocked. You're not really blocked from the whole system, are you? Now, this anonymous nurse did exactly what we tell professionals to do. They gave notice. They communicated. They tried to leave respectfully, peacefully. But sometimes even doing everything the right way still exposes the cracks in the system. If you're a nurse and you have a story involving retaliation, intimidation, unsafe staffing, or toxic management, you can share it anonymously at thebrokenshift@gmail.com. Remove identifying details. Protect yourself. Okay? I want you to tell the story because the system only changes when the pattern becomes visible. Healthcare culture doesn't change when we ignore it. It changes when we're willing to examine it. This is the broken shift.